Yes, it is Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. We've got an absolutely jam-packed show on tap for you guys on Carving Up Live tonight. We're going to start with the Boston Celtics blowing Game 7, blowing a 3-1 lead to the Philadelphia 76ers. Can Philly be able to knock off the New York Knicks in the second round? And as for Boston, what happened for them to pull off this unbelievably shocking collapse? We'll get to that. LeBron James, that we talked about, there's no way he would let the Lakers blow a 3-0 lead to the Houston Rockets. He leads them to a Game 6 win in Houston. Why I think LeBron and the Lakers have absolutely no chance whatsoever against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Get to that. Get to another of other subjects. You can barely see through this mask. Why I think the Pistons actually showed me a little bit more than I thought they would, despite a grueling 7-game series, them coming back from a 3-1 lead on the 8-seed Orlando Magic. Steve Kerr looks like he might come back to the Warriors. He's starting to maybe, trend in that direction. We're going to predict the second round, all 4 second-round NBA playoff series. And at the end of the show, did you think we were not going to do a Star Wars segment? Of course we are. We're going to do a segment. You know what? I'm not going to tease it. We're going to wait till we get there. But we got an absolutely jam-packed episode of Carving Up Live. Let's drop the beat, baby. Let's see if I can get this here. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, we're live? Oh, my bad. See, this is what happens when we bring some Star Wars stuff here. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Carving Up Live right here on YouTube, as well as on X, on Facebook, and on Twitch. I am Bryson Garber, and you know what? I can barely even breathe in this thing. I'm taking this Mandalorian helmet off, and you know what? Just going Star Wars hat for the rest of the show. So, very excited that you would hang with us today. Again, it's a special May the 4th Star Wars episode. We got a little bit of different, decorations going on and set design, I guess you could say, for carving it up. We got some plenty of stuff to discuss on the show today. Appreciate everybody for stopping by. A lot of NBA playoffs. Again, a special Star Wars segment at the end of the show that we'll get to. And maybe some good news for the Golden State Warriors, which I have not experienced that in, a year? Which makes me sound like a spoiled fan. There's, Sacramento Kings fans are like, oh my gosh, can't wait a year without good news. So we got plenty to talk about on today's episode of Carving Up Live. Of course, I'm wearing my former Galaxy's Edge. Oh, you guys can't see it. My former Galaxy's Edge pin that I used to wear at Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run. So had to pay tribute to my old stomping ground. So very, very excited to be in studio on May the 4th. So again, May the 4th be with you. Let's talk some basketball. But first, I'll be honest. Saturday night, most of my time was occupied by attending the great Luke Combs, the best country music star in the business right now. I don't think it's particularly close. Respect to everybody else. But Game 7 between the Celtics and the Sixers was going on. And as soon as I got home, went and watched the highlights. Particularly, I wanted to watch the fourth quarter start to finish. And because I knew Philly had won, I got an update on my phone during the concert. Philadelphia's won Game 7. And we knew going into the game, there's no Jason Tatum, which I'll get to in a second. I think that's a smart move by the Celtics, but it might be I don't want to say an injury. It might have been a re-aggravation situation, in part caused by Boston. We'll get to that in a few minutes. But what I want to say about Game 7 in particular is that obviously the Celtics were on the ropes without their best player, but there's an element of, hey, for Kate Cunningham to be first-team All-NBA. I would have given it to Jaylen Brown, but it's close. It's nip and tuck. A lot of things you could look at in that regard. Where it started for Boston is when you're bringing out a starting lineup that has not, started together, has not played together all season long. If the Boston Celtics, the Celtics started. We have it here. The Celtics started. Obviously, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Baylor Shireman, who had been playing for Jason Tatum here and there, Ron Harper Jr., and Luka Garza. Those guys had never played together all season long. And yet you're putting them out for a Game 7 to go to the second round without your best player. You would think of any of the teams in the NBA that if they lost their best player, they don't even blink, that it would be Boston. You could argue Philadelphia if you think Embiid's their second best player. I happen to think it's Maxey, but that's another story for later in the segment. You would think Boston would be better equipped. And again, this goes to what we were saying. I think anybody who watches basketball has been saying for the last few years about these Boston Celtics. Listen, respect to them. They got their championship in 2024, nothing but love. They rolled through everybody. But when you are Boston And when you are really talented, again, this Celtics team, I said all year, as good as they were not as good as they were a year ago. You can't lose Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford, and Drew Holiday and be a better basketball team. You just can't. And Tatum's not 100%. You're not better than you were last year. But when you are so talented and yet so reliant on the three-point shot, what is there to gain? Because when you're cold, then you're screwed. And we could show you there was a direct correlation in the Boston Celtics three-point shooting and the games they won in the series. Put up the graphic. This is the third and final because their season's over. That we're updating this graphic. Shot 36% in game 1 from three-point range. Not great, but good enough for a win. 26% on 50 attempts in game 2. Lost. 43%. Won game 3. 45% on 53 attempts is pretty amazing. Won game 4. And then from there on their 3-1 collapse. 28% on 39 attempts in game 5. 29% on 41 attempts in game 6. By the way, 34 of those 41 came in the final 3 quarters. And in game 7, they shot 27%. And if you look at those last 3 games, of course, as we saw them blow a 3-1 lead, 3-point attempts went up every game. And it's the first time in the Joe Mazzulla era, which is 4 years old now for the Boston Celtics, the first time in the Joe Mazzulla era, the Celtics have shot under 30% from three-point range. Think there's not a direct correlation. A, the pressure. B, the fact that obviously Embiid comes back. That changes a lot of things in game 4 for the Celtics against Philadelphia. And C, you're just too over-reliant on the three-point shot. Like that's, and I've said, because Jaylen Brown had some comments. He does some like streaming content. Respect him. I'm trying to keep his tag in place. Jaylen Brown does some streaming content. And he said after the fact that, Joel Embiid, great player. The flopping drives me crazy. And again, watching that game on replay and even watching Embiid's career, Embiid has a tendency to be on the floor a lot with minimal contact, given the fact that what are we going to give him? 7'1"? I'm going to say at least 300. Okay, they've got him listed at 280 on ESPN. Okay, fair enough. Large man. He's on the floor a lot against a very undersized Celtics team. There can be truth in that, and there also be the Jalen, love ya, have a little bit of self-awareness. And what I mean by that is this. I've been at the front of this train, ripping the Oklahoma City Thunder for what is not an aesthetically pleasing style of basketball in the sense, from the offensive end. They get away with a lot defensively, but the Thunder aren't the first team to do that. Doesn't mean we have to like it, but they're not the first team to get away with that stuff. It's, in particular from Shea, the unbasketball-like moves that I've called the acrobatics that don't look like he's even trying to make the shot. Just get something up, do something awkward, you get to the free throw line. We've been ripping them for that because A, it's bad basketball, and B, in part because it's bad basketball, it's bad to watch. So is the Celtics jacking a million threes when they're not that good of a three-point shooting team. They're just not. And when you get cold, when you're in a spot in the fourth quarter, because again, I watched the fourth quarter in its entirety back. Philly had the lead for most of the basketball game. And it looked like as that fourth quarter progressed, oh boy, Philly's running out of gas. Embiid's running out of gas. Maxey kept playing well, but Paul George, and they're going to blow this. 5 minutes, 50 seconds to go. So basically the last half of the fourth quarter. What happens? The Celtics are down 1 point. They get the game within a point. Derek White hits a 3 with 5:50 to go. What happens from there? Show that graphic. They scored 4 points the rest of the basketball game. They took 12 shots. 9 of them were three-pointers. And again, trailed by 1 at the 5:50 mark. And again, it got to the point where it was about 3 minutes ago. It felt like it was 99-98 for 2 minutes before Maxey made a layup. And then they kind of closed it out from there. Philly closed it out from there. Boston was over-reliant on a thing that makes them kind of a one-dimensional offense. And it's a big reason for that. And we'll show this graphic. I've talked about in this show since 2022. So this is a 4-year-long thing. Boston's not a very good home playoff team. Show the numbers for that. They're 5 games over 500 over the course of 5 postseasons. 22, 23, 24, 25. And this year, they have a home playoff record. This is remarkable for a team that's been to multiple Eastern Conference finals, multiple NBA finals, and won a championship 2 years ago. They're only 5 games over 500 at home. It's remarkable. Is it the rims in Boston? Is it... I don't know what it is. And I am in no way advocating. Fire Joe Mazzulla. Here's what I'll say, though. because Brad Stevens runs the basketball operations in Boston and has done a great job. And I think, it sucks in the moment. God, blew a 3-1 lead. Tatum went down in game 6. I do give the Celtics massive credit for not playing Tatum in game 7 because that could have been a disaster and we would have been calling for the jobs of the entire medical staff in Boston. We would have been. But this was a year that wasn't supposed to go that far. At the same time, because of how they were playing the regular season, because they got the 2 seed, because they get Tatum back, by the time the playoffs starts, like, oh, Tatum's like looking kind of like Tatum. The expectations rose understandably, only to have it end in disastrous collapse. Let this be, and I think the Celtics have a smart front office. Let this be a lesson for Brad Stevens, for Joe Mazzulla, for everybody in that Celtics organization to say, okay, we're a really talented basketball team. There are moves that we can make this summer. Again, we cleared a lot of cap space with Porzingis gone and Horford and Drew Holiday. We've got some room to be able to finagle and make this roster better. We like some of our young talent. Peyton Pritchard just gets better and better every year. Akeda, the big man they got, they've got some young talent they can develop. Let's see a full season with the Boston Celtics in which there's some variance to their offense, in which there's ball movement, which there's getting to the rim, there's the occasional mid-range jumper, there's the three-point shot. Again, it sounds kind of elementary. Take the open shot. Like, honest to God, take the open shot. Like, Steve Kerr, I don't know if it's Steve Kerr that said this. We're going to talk about Steve later. But there used to be a saying in Golden State when they first acquired KD. It's like, oh my God, who's going to get the last shot? Is it Steph, Clay, KD? You know who's getting the last shot? Whoever's open. And again, that's the greatest basketball team ever. They had that luxury that most don't. But there is some truth in the sense that we don't have to jack shots up. I mean, this happened, I thought, in worse fashion a year ago against the Knicks. They're out here leading by 15, 20 points in the second halves of games 1 and 2, and they're playing like they're down 15 or 20. They keep jacking threes. That would be like if you're watching, the Chiefs or the Bills, like Mahomes and Josh Allen, 2 best quarterbacks, maybe the 2 best arms in the league. That would be like if the Chiefs or the Bills led by 20 points in the fourth quarter, and Joe Brady for the Bills, Andy Reid for the Chiefs said, hey, 4 verts, just keep throwing bombs. It's like, well, that could work. Could lead to a 50-yard touchdown, or it could lead to a pick, or most likely it stops the clock. It's bad game management. It's bad situational management. And that's what's gotten the Celtics beat over and over the last couple of years in the playoffs. It's why you go out to a New York Knicks team that on paper you were better than. I don't want to hear about, listen, I hated that Tatum went down. We all hated that Tatum went down in game 4 last year, but they were about to go down 3-1 with Tatum healthy. That's why I didn't think they'd beat the Knicks, even if they won this series. And so, again, we're gonna give Philly plenty of credit in just a second. But there's just an element, again, Jaylen Brown, and I've talked about blaming the refs. It's loser behavior. Jaylen Brown's not a loser. That goes without saying. But man, look yourself in the mirror. No team in the NBA, I think at least, should have been more prepared to win a do-or-die Game 7 without their best player than the Boston Celtics. They play without Tatum until March. No team is more used to it. It's part of the reason Jaylen Brown was an MVP candidate. So this is a disaster. There's no two ways about it. And so, listen, again, I maintain, I'm probably the minority of people that thinks this. Again, we'll never know. They'll say, I guess we'll never know. I don't think Boston would have beaten New York in round 2. The Knicks match up better with the Celtics. The Knicks literally beat a better Celtics team a year ago. The Knicks have a better coach now. I think the matchup advantage would have went to the Knicks pretty heavily, to be completely honest with you. But you got to get out of round 1. And if you're Boston, okay, we won the title in 24, and we've just gone backwards since then. We lose a series we really shouldn't have to the Knicks in the second round last year. And then this year, we blow a 3-1 lead to a 7 seed. I get it. That 7 seed got Joel Embiid back in game 4, and that was massive. Embiid was great in game 5, played really well in game 7, fought their injuries, hit a big 3 late in the fourth quarter. But because if you're over-reliant on an offensive strategy that can come and go even for the best shooters, you open the door for some pretty shocking playoff losses. See, 2023 Eastern Conference Finals, they were down 3-1 to Miami, ended up coming back and forced a Game 7 and getting blown out in Game 7. 2024, fortunately for the Celtics, the threes were falling. Last year, they weren't falling. Remember, they shot 25 of 100 in the first 2 games against the Knicks, lost that series. And then this year, again, show that the numbers one final time. Just don't even look at games 1 through 4. 5, 6, and 7. 28% from 3 on 39 attempts. 29% from 3 on 41 attempts. And 27% from 3 on 49 attempts. Guys, if it ain't going down, try something different. So, I know the old saying, if first you can't succeed, try again. There's some truth to that. But you're on at home in a game 7 against a Philly team. Watch the game, man. They were running out of energy, out of gas. In large part because they didn't. I mean, how many guys Philly play? Like 6? I mean, basically 6. Quentin Grimes played 26 minutes off the bench. Outside of that, Edwards, Barlow, and Andre Drummond played a combined 12. So like it was a 6-man rotation in Philly. So of course they were running out of energy, and you couldn't get the job done. Got a bunch of, oh man, Patrick is just going crazy in the comments. Patrick's a Lakers fan, and I'll get to his Lakers in just a moment. Listen, Lakers, see my tag keeps like, the way it's strapped in or pinned into my shirt, it's hard to keep it, nice and level there. We'll get to the Lakers in just a moment. Patrick and every Lakers fan should be very, very happy today, but it's about to get ugly. We'll get to that in a second. Patrick, happy Monday to everybody. Oh, very nice. Let's see. Patrick's a good dude. Happy Monday to everybody. Let's run up the likes, shares, and comments. Hit the hype points leaderboard once the show has uploaded. It helps gain traction to the algorithm. I appreciate you, Patrick. Patrick's a great dude, unbelievable team at the Grid. Check out his articles, by the way, on the Grid Network website. They're on his personal Instagrams. The link in his bio. Check that out. It's unbelievable stuff. Does a great job for the network. Patrick's a really good dude. Let's see what he's got to say in the comments. Boston Celtics. I don't want to hear they didn't have Jason Tatum. Played 3/4 of the season without him. They lived and died by 3-pointers. Not quality basketball on their part. Then he says, oh, he's not lying about this. Boston sports having a rough 2026. The Patriots lost the Super Bowl. Mikey and Dirty Diana talking about Vrabel and Rossini caught in affair gate. Celtics blow a 3-1 lead to Philly, and the Red Sox are horrendous. Yeah, you don't need to remind me about the Red Sox. It's so bad in it with the Red Sox. You got freaking guys proposing to his girlfriend. She turns him down. Like it's just gotten bad in Boston. It really, really has. That was a rough thing to see. Maybe the Celtics DJ should have played Hanging Tough by New Kids on the Block. Instead, their season-ending exit track, Please Don't Go, Girl. Inside the NBA, trolling Boston with the Titanic reference was golden. Yeah, that was funny given that it was ESPN who did it, and she has done a lot of work for ESPN. Like that was, again, Inside the NBA, it's basically like an independent, it's kind of like McAfee. They're basically independent contractors at this point that just get their show broadcasted by ESPN. I think Draymond's going to be on Inside the NBA pretty soon as well. So there you go. That was rough. For Philadelphia, let's give them credit because they did come back from a 3-1 deficit. So a couple of things. Because they got the Knicks coming up. Game 1's actually in like an hour and a half. I'll predict each second-round series in about half hour or so. But if you're Philly, because I said after they won Game 2, I think most folks thought, yeah, the Celtics are still going to win the series. Obviously, we're wrong. But in watching the first couple games and watching the Sixers throughout the majority of this year, we know Maxi's great. More on him in a second. We know about, VJ Edgecombe, who finished 3rd for Rookie of the Year, deservedly so. Kid has an unbelievably bright future. Had the big game too, all of it. I've said, move Embiid, get what you can from him. Those are the 2 pieces you build around. You build around that backcourt, Maxey and Edgecombe. That makes it a little bit tougher in the sense that, man, now Embiid's playing well. The way I view it, and this, I don't want to sound harsh, but okay, great. Embiid's trade value just went up. Like now the question is, okay, because he came in and out of the game against the Celtics in Game 7. How available is he going to be in a series against the Knicks, in a 7-game series against New York? Because the thing that does play in Philly's favor in that series, they don't really have anybody to guard Embiid or Maxey. Cats can play defense. Again, the size advantage goes to Joel Embiid. You can throw Mitchell Robinson at him. I don't think that works either. And then for the Knicks, as good of a defensive team they are, those come from their wings. OG, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart. Who are they going to put on Maxey? I assume they put Hart on Maxey, is my guess. But for the full series, then Hart, who's not that great of an offensive player to begin with, is kind of a nothing burger on the offensive end. Here's the biggest takeaway I have, though. because we talk about Embiid, and listen, Joel Embiid is a league MVP, big personality, the process, all of it. I feel like, again, because it was against Boston, because Embiid came back, and that's really when the series flipped, I feel like we're not giving Maxey enough credit. He played great this season. Give me all NBA. But also, in the 3-1 comeback, as great as Embiid was, in the 3-1 comeback, Tyrese Maxey was the catalyst, and the numbers back it up. Over the last 3 games, games 5 through 7 against the Celtics, he averaged 28, 7, and 5. Again, as a small guard on 55, 42, 100 splits. Like that is just the definition of efficiency. So Maxey was great, and I think, frankly, if they're able to, at the very least, push the Knicks, and I think they will, to be honest with you. You'll know how well I think of the Knicks. Philly can push them from a matchup perspective. If it gets to a game 6, dare I say 7, man, is Tyrese Maxey, this is why we love the playoffs, who's had a great regular season and has just gotten better every year. Do we elevate him into, is he not just one of the 10 best players in the league? I think it's fair to say. I mean, this is why I do my top 10 players coming into the playoffs, my top 10 players exiting the playoffs. This was the top 10 coming into the playoffs. So obviously Jokic number 1, that's going to change. I think it already has. We'll see if it's Shea or Wemby by season's end. But it's a debate now. Jaylen Brown, Tyrese Maxey. Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Maxey. We're going to see that matchup. That's exciting. You know I love Steph Curry, but Maxey's obviously trending upwards from an age perspective. Steph, love Steph. He's 38. Cade Cunningham, I think I'll give Cade the edge. And then after that, the 6 players above him, Jokic, SGA, Wemby, Giannis, Luka, and Edwards, I think they're all pretty definitively better than Maxey. And then I would say Cade as well, so 7. But Steph, Jaylen Brown, Jalen Brunson, by playoffs in, we could be in a situation where, like, yeah, Maxey's better than those guys. Like, he's just better. He's a great scorer. He's unbelievably efficient in the last 3 games of this series against Boston. Philly is one of the more scary, it sounds like a backhanded compliment, but scary 7 seeds that we've seen. And listen, I know people like to poo-poo the play-in. Oh, why do we have the play-in? Listen, let's look at the last few years. Okay, so 2023, the Heat were the 8 seed, made the finals. Okay, so you have that. 2022, or in 2023, also the Lakers were the 7 seed, made the conference finals. You have, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting now. Oh, shoot. Didn't we have a team a year ago make the... Oh, now I'm blank. Well, I know the Warriors last year were the 7 seed and beat the 2 seed Rockets, and then Steph went down, and they got gentlemen swept by Minnesota because Steph went down. That's neither here nor there. We've seen the play and be successful for teams, and Philly might just be the latest example of that. There's always a lower seed every year that kind of shocks some people. Philly might be that this year, so kudos to the Sixers. Let's go back to the comments, and then we'll go to the Lakers. Grady Edwards, my man Grady's in the comments. He says, I'm very tempted to pick the Sixers to win the series. They got a very good chance, or they got a really good chance. That I will say. I'm going with the Knicks in 7 because I kind of think Embiid sprains his ankle or blows out his knee. I hope he doesn't blow his knee at some point. Sorry to sound harsh. I'll be honest. I would love to see Philly win the title. I think that'd be a good story for Embiid. It'd be a great story for Embiid. Listen, I don't think anyone has been more critical anywhere than me. I mean, I have religiously stated, yeah, Embiid's great. Only MVP to never go to the conference finals. Look at NBA history. He's the only one to not do it. And a lot of that has been because of injuries. And we go into these playoffs, and it's like, okay, this Philly team could be kind of interesting. They could push Boston, Maxey, Paul George, Edgecombe, Embiid, appendectomy. It's like, oh my gosh, this guy can't catch a break. You know, he had, Bell's palsy a couple of years ago in the playoffs. Like, this guy cannot catch a break physically. If he's able to come back, the playoffs start with them pulling off a 3-1 comeback on Boston. They go to the first Eastern Conference Finals. I think it'll be Philly's first Eastern Conference Finals in like 25 years. I think since AI led them there and then to the finals in 2001. And if Embiid leads them to a title, man, like that is, as a 7 seed, by the way. So you won't have home court advantage in any of the series coming in. That will be really, really impressive. Be a great story. Patrick, Joel Band-Aid Embiid versus Cat in the Hat Towns. Wow, Cat in the Hat Towns will be the pivotal matchup. New York will go as far as Jalen Brunson takes them. Hart, Bridges, OG, and everyone else will need to contribute. Listen, and that's, I don't want to spoil too much of my prediction for the series and my analysis, but it's what I talked about after the Knicks just annihilated the Hawks in Game 6, is that the underrated storyline, we get so just like, oh my gosh, they beat Atlanta by 1,000,000 points. The underrated story coming out of that game that I didn't hear enough people talk about was, Mikal Bridges was garbage offensively through the first 5 games of the series. And it's like, oh, shoot, he may have found his touch. I think he only missed like 2 shots in the game against the Hawks. So it's like, okay, Bridges is back going. OG had a big game. We know about Brunson and Cat. That's a really interesting offensive squad. And the Knicks, I think, we're like 3rd in offensive rating this year in the NBA. So we shouldn't be all that shocked. Okay. Let's shift to the Lakers. Let me take a drink of water. Appreciate everybody stopping in on a May the 4th Monday. Again, got some, what do we got? We got 3PO, we got a clone trooper, got some mini busts of Yoda and Palpatine, mini R2, big R2. Let me tilt the camera up just a little bit because I got a Death Star popcorn bucket last year when I was working my college program, which was dope. Can't really see it. Let me put this down. This is because I want to show this off. This is a little thing for a little, I guess, set for Black Spire Outpost. I don't know if you can see that. If the camera focus, Black Spire Outpost, which is the location of the Millennium Falcon, but also Galaxy's Edge at Disney World. So very cool to see that. And they got like a Mandalorian lunchbox up there. So had to celebrate. And again, I got my lightsaber over there. So good stuff. Very, very excited to be here on May the 4th. So let's shift to the Lakers because there was holy crap. Are they going to, they're not going to blow a 3-0 lead to Houston, right? Like it's one thing to blow a 3-0 lead. Literally never been done before in the NBA. It's another thing to blow a 3-0 lead to a team missing its point guard, offensive rebounding specimen, Steven Adams, and their best player, Kevin Durant, for all but one game. It's like I know Luka's out. This cannot happen. And after game 5, I said, I don't think it's going to happen. I happen to think that LeBron James is just simply not going to let it happen. But it better not get to game 7 because that is LeBron's faced pressure more times than not. He's come through. That's a pressure that, holy crap. I've gone the last few years kind of playing with house money to, I could be the author of the worst choke job in the history of the playoffs. And there was no way LeBron James was going to let that happen. Show what Bron did in game 6 against the Rockets. LeBron special, 28, 7 and 8. Not ridiculously efficient. 10 of 25, 2 of 5 from 3, 6 of 8 from the free throw line. But it was the way he controlled the game. He got the Lakers out in transition. Like that was, I said that after game 5 was part of what hurt the Lakers so bad offensively. Houston, for all their offensive flaws, and boy, there are many. I think a lot of that's Van Vliet related, him being out for the whole season. That's why I didn't buy Houston, was because Van Vliet was out for the whole year. As bad as they are offensively, in the half court, they are a monstrous defense. Şengün's a defensive liability. Everybody else can lock you up. And when the Lakers slowed the game down, played in the half court, advantage Houston, especially with no Luka, advantage Houston. So what did the Lakers do? What did LeBron James do? Grab the rebound, we're off to the races. And he controlled the tempo in that way. And I think that was the key to what the Lakers got off to a great start in that game, never really looked back. And so I've said all season long, when the Lakers were healthy, Bron, Luka, was really, I guess, in terms of best players, Luka, Bron, Austin Reeves. I've said, good team. If they get the right matchup, I actually said if they play Houston, they'll win a playoff series. Now, with Luka out, I picked Houston. Hey, I was wrong on that one. They won that series. But they have a very hard round 2 ceiling, pretty much regardless of who they play. Well, they're playing Oklahoma City, as we all know by now. And JJ Redick had some comments. And here's the thing. He wasn't wrong at all in what he said. But JJ Redick had some comments at Lakers practice the other day where he said, like, listen, the team we're facing in Oklahoma City, if you look at the greatest net rating, I think the greatest 2-year net rating rankings of any team in NBA history, like the last 30 years or something, it's the 95-96 Bulls, the 96-97 Bulls, and the Warriors from 15 to 17. And then Oklahoma City. Like, these are some of the greatest teams in modern NBA history. We're playing one of the greatest teams ever in this round. Which could be true. I happen to think the Thunder are going to lose to OKC in the conference finals. That could be true. I could be wrong. The Thunder might go back-to-back and we look at them as they're the new dynasty. Very well could be the case. But JJ saying that, can I tell you what it reminded me of a little bit? And it's funny. It's great that Grady's in the comments because he's reminded me of this on a number of occasions. Do you remember 2017? When the Cavs and Warriors, destroyed everybody on their way to the finals. The Warriors went undefeated in the playoffs. The Cavs lost one game. The Cavs gentlemen sweep Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals. They're on the stage. They've got their hats, T-shirts. They got the little Eastern Conference Finals trophy. And LeBron is asked about Golden State. And his answer is basically, man, they're a great team. Going to be a tough matchup. Again, he said it with a little bit more confidence than I'm saying it, but it was, for all intents and purposes, a concession speech. Which, I love LeBron. He wasn't wrong. He averaged a 30-point triple-double, and they still got gentlemen swept because the Warriors in 2017, greatest basketball team ever assembled. Not the greatest look. That's what this reminded me of with J.J. Redick. Just kind of setting the tone, like, guys, talking to the media, not that they need to be reminded of this per se, but we're at a gigantic disadvantage in this series. Gigantic. I mean, I just, without even looking into the advanced analytics, I just wrote this down. Thunder. They have the better offensive team, defensive team. They have more depth. They have the best player in the series. They have the better coach, healthier team, home court advantage, and they're the more rested team. Of course, they swept Phoenix. They've had a week off. And, the Vegas line reflects it. Game 1's tomorrow. And in a second-round play, this would be wild for a first-round playoff series, 1 versus 8 seed. A second-round playoff series between the 1 and 4 seed. The Thunder are 15.5-point favorites. They are 15.5-point favorites. So I know I kind of said earlier that we're going to do playoff predictions at the end of the show, and we are. But I have seen a few Lakers fans, not most, but some. Hey, if we could steal game 1, and it's like you see where the brain leads from there. Well, if we can get game 1 in OKC, if Luka can come back by game 4, we may have a shot in this. Guys, we saw y'all play OKC a month ago with Luka. That was actually the game where Luka hurt his hamstring and Austin Reeves hurt his oblique. And you were down like 30 at halftime. Now, I'm not saying that's how every game's going to look. It's hard to destroy a team, any team of competence in the NBA, 4 straight games. These are all professionals. But I'm just telling you on the front end, this is going to be this is going to be as quick of a series as it can possibly be. Thunder in 4. Thunder in 4, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care who the Lakers got. I know what did Shannon Sharp had the Lakers in 5. Thunder in 4. This series is going to be over next week. This idea, because the report came out at the end of the Houston series, Luka's not even running right now. So Luka's not coming back. If he does, it's by game 5 at Oklahoma City with the Thunder having a shot to close out the series. You're done. You ain't getting a game in this series. And I don't even like OKC. Really just because their style of play. It's not because they're winning, as Thunder fans like to poke at me for. This is going to be a quick series. All right? No two ways about it. Share the comments and we'll get to Kevin Durant. Grady, I happen to agree with you. I really think the Warriors would have won the title last year if Steph Curry had not gone down. I do too. It really hurts. Grady also says, OKC in 5. Question, what do you think the Lakers can do to have a chance in this series? They could pray. They can hope the Thunder bus gets stuck in like the worst traffic in the history of Oklahoma City. And they could, God knows we're not wishing this. Basically, they got to hope for like Shea, Chet, Caruso, and Dort to all get hurt in the series, and Luka to make a miraculous recovery. I say that half jokingly, but there is no matchup that the Lakers can win. Where are the Thunder? Are a physical defensive team. They're great in the wings, and let me tell you who's about to become. I've predicted this all season long. I've been wrong all season long, to his credit. Lakers fans like to find a scapegoat. Let me tell you who that guy's going to be in this series. DeAndre Ayton. Can you imagine what Chet's going to do to him in this series? Chet, second for defensive player of the year. Do you know what Chet's going to do to him in this series? Because Houston's big, but without Steven Adams, they don't have physical size. It's Jabari Smith. It's a Şengün. not guys who are going to beat up DeAndre Ayton physically. Chet, Hartenstein, they can. So I'm telling you right now. I got a comment on Twitch. What's up? Patrick. Now, Houston traded Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks for Kevin Durant. Did they make a colossal mistake by doing this after pushing Golden State to 7 games a year ago? We'll get to that in just a second. And Gray's referencing what I said about LeBron. And I love LeBron. I hold against him in regards to the GOAT conversation because Jordan would never do that. That's fair. That's completely fair. The 2017 concession speech. I don't wish injury on anyone, but it's the only real shot we have is if Shea goes down. It's why the Warriors won the 15 finals. That's fair. It's why Golden State lost to Toronto in 2019 and why the Bucks beat Brooklyn in 2021. Agreed, by the way. Patrick's got some comments that kind of transitions me into what I'm going to say about Kevin Durant. He says, KD's burner accounts became a distraction once he torched teammates and tried to play it off. Right then and there, Houston's chemistry was doomed. If they had traded for a point guard, different results. And he says, Kobe White was available and could have helped or could have traded for John Morant. No, John Morant would not have helped at all. But in competent front office, Ime, all hype, no strategy. Udoka lacked self-awareness. Listen, I've been a Udoka, I don't want to say hater, truth teller for years now. This idea, he's this hard-nosed defensive coach. Why is it then that the best player on the other team goes off in every series that he plays in? Giannis, Jimmy, Steph, LeBron. Yeah, they played great defense against Kevin Durant and Kyrie one time in a first-round playoff series against a flawed Nets team. Every other series, the Superstars cooked them. So, anyways. To Kevin Durant. I think I'm pretty much just resigned to the fact that this man is going to retire with the strangest NBA legacy of all time. I'm just resigned to it. And I said that as a fan of Kevin Durant. Before he was a Warrior, definitely while he was a Warrior, and after he was. I love Kevin Durant. And I think Patrick mentioned the burners. A lot of folks have been talking about the burners. It got reported by The Athletic that, that was never really resolved in Houston. Once the KD burner messages about his teammates, about Jabari, about Şengün, once those things came out, the relationships in Houston were basically irreparable, which you can understand why. He's your best player, who's a legend, by the way, is ripping you behind the scenes on fake accounts, by the way. That said, I almost put KD in a little bit of like the A.J. Brown camp where it's like, I don't think A.J. Brown's a very good teammate. Everything I've seen from A.J. Brown off the field leads me to believe pretty good dude. What A.J. Brown's done for mental health, what he's like, I think A.J.'s a good dude off the field. Everybody who knows Kevin Durant, love him. I remember distinctly, Steph Curry did a documentary with Apple TV Plus a couple of years ago, and they showed after Steph had broken the 3-point record, which he did at Madison Square Garden, he had like a party afterwards in New York. Well, this is the time KD's playing for the Nets, so KD attended, and they kind of like embraced, dapped each other up, and Steph said something like in passing, most misunderstood guy in the world right there. Like people who know KD swear by him. So I love KD. But it's the strangest dilemma. Let's show Kevin Durant in his 20s. So that spans from, basically, you take out the first year where he played for the Supersonics before they moved to Oklahoma City. So his first year playing in Oklahoma City to his second to last year in Golden State, which I guess was a second year in Golden State. Put up those numbers because they're fantastic. Average basically 28 a game, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 49, 38, 88 splits, 9-time All-Star, 6-time first-team All-NBA. He won the league MVP in 2014. 2-time NBA champion, 2-time Finals MVP. He made 6 conference finals between his time with the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Golden State Warriors. He's gone to 3 NBA Finals, or went to 3 NBA Finals in that stretch. And then in his 30s, it's the most bizarre thing you've ever seen because the numbers in some cases are actually quite a bit better. Points per game, virtually the same. Assist up. Field goal percentage up. 3-point percentage up. Free throw percentage the same. Go from a 9-time All-Star to 7-time All-Star is a decline there. But no time, since the Achilles surgery, no first-team All-NBA selections. He's not won any MVPs or really even been in the consideration for MVP in his 30s. Of course, no NBA championships. He's played in 0 conference finals. And he has a playoff record of 21-23. And by the way, that's KD in his 30s, right? That 21-23 record includes his final year in Golden State. If you take that out, Kevin Durant has a playoff record. So basically, post-Golden State, KD has a playoff record of 13-19. He's 6 games under 500. Kevin Durant has not won a playoff game since Game 4 against Denver in the 2023 second round. Playoff game. Forget series. They were up. They had a 2-2 tie with Denver, lost the final 2 in that series, got swept the next, this is when KD's in Phoenix, got swept the next year by Minnesota, missed the playoffs in 25. This year with Houston, he plays 1 game and they get knocked out in 6. So there's a discussion. Does Houston keep him? They move off him? Because it's like, crap, even with all the drama, he's still excellent. Like, he's still an all-NBA caliber guy. He's still indisputably, when healthy, one of the 15 best players in the league. He's still got an unstoppable jumper. He's still ridiculously efficient. And he's won nothing post-Golden State. Shoot, even in Oklahoma City, he was going to conference finals and went to 1 NBA finals in 2012. And so, listen, you can say, okay, Brooklyn wasn't ideal because of injuries, and Kyrie was at times a bit odd, and then he goes to Phoenix, and Phoenix made some weird front office decisions, moving on from Chris Paul and bringing in Bradley Beal. That made no sense. But when you go to Houston, flawed team, don't get me wrong, but a Houston Rockets squad, Patrick pointed out in the comments, took my Warriors 7 games last year. Matter of fact, they were down 3-1 and forced a game 7. Like, flawed team, not a very good offensive team. I have questions about Udoka, but they pushed a Golden State Warriors team with prime Steph Curry and prime Jimmy Butler 7 games. Like, that's something to build off of. And they move on make a move for Kevin Durant. And again, I don't want to blame this all on KD because it's not all his fault. Again, he played 1 game in this series. Frankly, I blame a lot of this on the fact that Fred VanVleet was hurt. To be completely honest with you. Like, when you don't have your point guard, VanVleet was a big reason they were as good of a team as they were a year ago, the 2 seed in the West. But there does come a point in time where, okay, common denominator in Brooklyn, Phoenix, and Houston, it's Kevin Durant. Like, that's just what it is. And I said earlier, he's going to retire at the strangest NBA legacy ever. What I mean by that is, when we talk about guys with the greatest longevity, we think about LeBron, Steph, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And we have to throw Kevin Durant in that discussion. But in that longevity, he won nothing. And didn't even come close to winning anything. And it's not like he was in bad situations. Phoenix that first year, he had Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Ayton, Monty Williams, the coach. Like, nice squad. This Houston team was not bad. Again, losing VanVleet was big. Still a good basketball team. And they went from a 2 seed to the 5 seed and got bounced in 6 with KD being unavailable except for game 2, in which he did not play well. KD will retire with maybe the most gifted scorer ever. You can't take that. People trying to undercut the 2 championships. That drives me crazy. He's a 2-time finals MVP. And post-Golden State, he scored a lot of points. And basically it. Like, post-Golden State, this is going to sound harsh. Post-Golden State, KD's resume, not that different from Carmelo Anthony. Yeah, great scorer. KD's more efficient than Melo, but great scorer. Yeah, went to the playoffs a few times, but aside from the 2009 Western Conference Finals, didn't go anywhere in the playoffs. Never got past round 2. It's unfortunate. I say as a fan of Kevin Durant, it's really, really unfortunate. Patrick, KD's legacy is murky post-Golden State. He hasn't won a playoff series he won a playoff series in 2023, but then they lost in 6 to Denver. He runs when things don't go his way. Brooklyn, Phoenix, and now Houston. Dang. Grady, Gary Payton's ring in Miami is starting to feel equal to KD's rings in Golden State. Well, obviously, Gary Payton, legend with the Supersonics, went to Miami at the end of his career. Well, he actually went to the Lakers, then went to Miami, won a championship with the Heat at the tail end of his career when he was a shell of what he was. I wouldn't go that far because, again, I've always maintained, and I think the numbers and the eye test back it up, Steph's always been more valuable to the Warriors than KD was when he was there. He just was. Gravity, some of those big game 6s and 7s of, like, Steph was better than KD in some of those spots, in many of those spots. But KD was, especially in the 2017 finals, unguardable. Literally unguardable. I can't go that again. I get it. He joined a 73-19. I get it. He was on. This guy wasn't like a passenger. It's not like, oh yeah, he's averaging 20 a game. Like, no, he was averaging like 35 a game in the 2017 finals. Like, he was awesome. Had a 43-point game in game 3 in 2018. Like, he was great in those series. I happen to think Steph should have gotten 2018 finals MVP. KD absolutely deserved it in 2017. So there you go. Great. Oh, interesting. Dude needs to go back to the Warriors, to be honest. Grady, the only way I'd be okay with that happening, because it would have to be in a trade, obviously, because KD's under contract with Houston. And this would be almost impossible. Bill Simmons actually mentioned it in this podcast. If you could find a way, this probably means either Jimmy or Draymond is gone. But basically say, screw it. We're just doing all the old guys. Steph, Bron, KD, either Jimmy or Draymond. Let's see what we can do with this squad. Honestly, at this point, why the heck not? They fit together. They've won a gold medal together, so they play together. Listen, I wouldn't be against it. I'll say that right now. I wouldn't be against it. But we'll see how it plays out. So, yeah, again, it's the weirdest resume I've ever seen in NBA history. So, going to take a 1-minute break. When we come back, we'll talk about the Pistons knocking out the Orlando Magic in 7 games, coming back from a 3-1 deficit. Get to that, why, in a strange way, they actually kind of impressed me a little bit in that 3-1 comeback. Get to that. Also get to playoff predictions. Steve Kerr might be back in Golden State in a special Star Wars segment at the end of today's show for May the 4th. Come back in just 1 minute on Carving Up Live. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Carving Up Live. Appreciate everybody for stopping by on a Monday. So again, May 4th, excited to be here and wanted to do some theming a little bit for Star Wars. So again, we got 3PO Clone Trooper. I don't know if you can see it. If you look in between 3PO and the Stormtrooper, there's a Millennium Falcon prop just like resting in there. I'm hoping it stays for the whole show. That would be really, really bad if it didn't. But there you go. And then, I might as well just turn off this Death Star. I don't want to drain the battery because you guys can barely see it. But Death Star popcorn bucket. See? Hold on. Let me open it. There we go. Yeah. See? Popcorn bucket, which Galaxy's Edge had a year ago on May the 4th, which I was able to work. Let me put this over here. I was able to work May 4th at Smugglers. Let's say Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run, which was the funny thing about that is I was expecting like, oh my gosh, because it also fell on a Sunday. So it's like the weekend, like this place is going to be absolutely insane. Early in the day, it actually wasn't bad. Like it probably compared to like spring break crowds, like the ride probably was like at a 90-minute wait or so, which isn't awful for Falcon. The reason for that, though, was in the first part of the day, it just came in classic Florida fashion, just a torrential, I don't want to say monsoon, but it was coming down. Like people were soaked coming in. So a lot of folks probably went inside places and whatever. So it wasn't bad because I worked the morning shift. Toward the end of my shift, it started to get a little crazy. Like, again, so much of working attractions at Disney is managing crowds and lines and all of it. Like it got to a point, it's like, man, the people were really nice, thank God. But it was not easy, to say at the very least, but it's still a great experience. And then I was able to get off my shift and then come back in the park as a guest and see they did a lightsaber ceremony outside of the Falcon. It was awesome. So if you ever get the chance, it's an endeavor. It's a lot. But if you ever get the opportunity to go to Disney World on May the 4th, to go to Galaxy's Edge May the 4th, I recommend it. I don't want to say it's something you would do over and over, but it's pretty darn cool. If you're a Star Wars fan, it's pretty darn cool. So yeah, very, very good memories, and that's why I wanted to wear my my old Galaxy Edge tag. I don't think I've worn this since I worked here. I worked there, so very exciting stuff. A couple of comments here from Grady, and then we'll get to the Pistons. The narrative that the Warriors wouldn't have won another championship without Kevin Durant doesn't hold up to me, I will say. I think Cleveland Warriors would have split, to be honest, in 2017 and 18. That's fair because, again, there's the butterfly effect of, okay, who wins the 17 finals? Anyone who acts like it was going to be Cleveland by a mile, I think, is out of their minds. The Warriors, with Steph not playing well and not healthy, had a 3-1 lead. Like, people forget that. Steph didn't play well and the Warriors were up 3-1. So if Steph had played well, the series maybe would have been over quicker. And then if, regardless of the outcome of that series, then does Kyrie stay? Like, Cleveland Golden State was an amazing rivalry. It could have legitimately rivaled Celtics Lakers in the 80s had KD not joined. Now, listen, I'm very happy KD joined because it helped my Warriors roll to 2 titles. Really rolled to a 2017 title. My goodness. Lost 1 game in the whole playoffs. So yeah, there you go. But I completely agree with you, Grady. Let's shift to Detroit, the Detroit Pistons. So the Pistons down 3-1 to the Magic. And usually when you see a 3-1 deficit, and especially with a higher seed losing a lower seed, much less a 1 versus 8, usually there's an injury in the equation. Like, remember when Miami was up, they ended up winning the series, but they were up 3-1 in Milwaukee. It was like, yeah, but Giannis missed some time and wasn't 100%. No. Cade 100%. Duran 100%. Tobias Harris, who we'll get to in a second. Duncan Robinson. They were all healthy. All those guys were ready to go, and they were just getting locked up by an unbelievable Orlando Magic defense. We didn't talk about it much, but when you fast forward to Game 5, the Pistons led for most of that game, and it's like, Orlando's it within striking distance. I think it was Desmond Bane, hit like a banked-in 3 with a minute to go to cut it to a 3-point game. It's like, oh my gosh, are they gonna steal this game or at least force overtime? Then Cade hit a big shot. Cade had like 45 in the game, forced Game 6. And in Game 6, if you haven't seen it, then probably a good thing for you, to be honest. The Orlando Magic at one point led by 24 points in Game 6, at home, mind you. In the second half, this is a professional basketball team. The Orlando Magic shot 4 of 37 from the field, and in the entire 24-minute half, scored 19 points. And by that point, it's like, yeah, they're dead for Game 7. You can't have a 20. We knew the Magic offense was bad. You can't have a 24-point lead at home in a Game 6 to close the series out against a 1 seed, probably a better team. And then you end up getting actually blown out on your own floor in the second half. Like that can't happen. And it did, and they were dead on arrival for Game 7. Listen, Paolo, who y'all know I'm a fan of, Paolo put up a fight. Everybody else, nothing burger. The Franz Wagner injury obviously didn't help, but still inexcusable. The Magic ended up firing Jamal Mosley. That was the least shocking coaching transaction of all time. But for Detroit, I know a lot of folks today are like, dang, 60 wins, 1 seed, and to come back from a 3-1 lead on the 8 seed Magic, who had locker room problems, injuries, terrible offense. Let me be a little glass half full in Detroit, because throughout the playoffs, I've been very skeptical, to say the very least. I love Cade. Like, we know Cade is indisputably one of the 10 best players in the league. Maybe at playoffs end, he'll have an argument for top 5. Who knows? But I said they reminded me a lot of last year's, and they even to a degree because of KD's injury, this year's Rockets. This year's and last year's Rockets, where it's outside of Şengün and Cade, very different players, but Şengün can get his own shot. Cade definitely can get his own shot. Outside of those two, I don't trust anybody else to do that. Well, in Game 7, and we know role players or ancillary pieces, they step up at home. My man, fall for life, by the way, Tobias Harris showed up. Cade was great, dropped 32. Tobias Harris, though, 30 points, 9 rebounds, 3 steals, 11 of 17 from the field, 5 or 7 from 3, 3 of 3 from the free throw line. Now, do we expect him to do that every other game? No, of course not. Like, that's unrealistic for Tobias Harris. No disrespect, but that's not going to happen. But if you're looking at this matchup coming ahead against the Cleveland Cavaliers, if you are a Pistons fan, you know what you're getting from Cade. But you look at it and say, okay, yeah, we survived that series against Orlando. It shouldn't have been as close as it was. But there's also the element of, dang, Orlando's they're a garbage offensive team. They play their you-know-what's off on the defensive end. Cleveland can play defense. Cleveland's interior presence with Allen and Mobley, but you can go at Donovan Mitchell and especially James Harden virtually every trip up the floor. Get him in the pick and roll and you win the matchup. And so, in a weird way, I think the Pistons should feel more optimistic about the Cavs series than they did about the Magic series. That's hard to say because we haven't seen those teams play yet in the series. But I think Pistons fans, it was a scare. You won game 5 by the skin of your teeth. It took K dropping 45 at home. You needed the worst half of offensive basketball in the history of the playoffs by the Magic in game 6. And then game 7, you can say Orlando's spirits were in the gutter. Fair enough. But I think, hey, this is the first series we've won with Cade. JB Bickerstaff, the coach, the role guys we got. It's our first playoff series win. It's like, okay, got that under our belt. Let's move forward and get the job done. So I think Pistons fans should actually feel not like ridiculously optimistic because, to be frank, I think Sixers and Knicks coming up, that's the conference finals. Whoever wins that is going to win the Eastern Conference Finals, I think. So there you go. Did want to shift quickly, though, to a team that is not in the playoffs. And we do not, as you all out there know, we do not play favorites on this show. We do not, we wave pom-poms for no team, no player, nobody. We're just straight down the middle objective. We do happen to talk about the Golden State Warriors from time to time. That they have been a topic of conversation since this podcast's inception back in 2019. And, 10 days ago, I thought the Steve Kerr era was all but over. The article, let's back this up. He obviously had the moment with Steph and Draymond after the play-in loss to Phoenix. And it's like, okay, that feels like more of a, hey, my contract's up. I don't know if I'm coming back. Like, we don't know if Kerr's coming back. And then Draymond comes on his podcast to be like, I'll be honest, that kind of felt like the end of Kerr and Golden State. And then there's these reports coming out of the Bay Area. Nick Friedel in particular, who does a great job, says, yeah, the Warriors hate when he speaks about sociopolitical issues. And then like the next day, Steve Kerr speaks about sociopolitical issues in an interview for the New Yorker. So it's almost like Steve Kerr is doing this defiantly. And so we knew he meet with the front office. It's like, this feels like more of a greatest coach in franchise history. We're going to let him leave on good terms, basically. Well, apparently the meeting went so well that I think they said Dunleavy, I think it was Dunleavy, Mike Dunleavy Jr., the general manager, was in tears. And they came out of that meeting saying, like, yeah, it's no done deal. Kerr's probably back. Apparently they're either have or are going to meet today. I'm sure we'll get more information either later tonight or tomorrow. Here's what I'll say. I think it goes without saying I've been as pro Steve Kerr as anybody in any medium, podcasting, television, radio, social media. I think I've said it, Draymond Green and Steve Kerr are a very good barometer to see, okay, how much does this person know basketball? I'm not saying you got to like him. I think Kerr's easier to like than Draymond. Most people, and I love Draymond, but a lot of people are easier to like than Draymond. But if you don't think either of the two were absolutely essential to the Warriors being a dynasty, then you just flatly don't know basketball. You just don't. Like it's okay. You don't know basketball. You don't have to love either of them. But if you don't think either were, and Kerr to me still is unbelievably valuable to Golden State, you're out of your mind. So I obviously want Kerr to come back. And if Kerr comes back, Steph's not going anywhere. I think that's pretty much a done deal. If Kerr's back, then Draymond's almost certainly back. Jimmy's there. Again, Bill Simmons presented it. I don't know if I'd be quite as extreme as Bill was because I don't even know if they can make it work with the cap. But there's almost and this I'm not usually a sentimental person, especially with sports, but maybe it's just because I grew up watching these guys. I don't know. Let's just say, gosh darn it. People thought the Warriors rolled this year. You wait till next year. Steph at age 39, Draymond at 36. I think he'll be 36 or so next season. You bring back Klay Thompson. Klay don't need to be in Texas for at all for a number of reasons that we know about. Bring Klay back. Jimmy comes back from injury. Sign LeBron. And just be like, you know what? It's all, guys. Let's give LeBron and the Warriors. We know about that relationship. Jimmy loves being a Warrior. That's well documented at this point. And just say, riding off the sunset with the old guys. The Splash Brothers and Draymond, bring LeBron in, Jimmy. And by the way, I think it's a good team. It'd be an unbelievable team like a decade ago. It's still a good team. It's a playoff team in the West. What they could do beyond that, I don't know. OKC, San Antonio feel like pretty insurmountable foes without any youth. And again, the Warriors have a first-round pick, so they get some youth into the building. I don't know. It's a thought. I said that if Steve Kerr leaves the Warriors, the already minimal chance they have of winning another championship goes down to zero if Kerr's gone. Well, if Kerr comes back, okay, you still got a heartbeat. Not a very loud one, but you got a heartbeat. So there you go. Okay, let's get into playoff predictions. Then we'll take a break, and then we'll do our special Star Wars segment at the end of today's show. So let's go and get the background music. NBA second-round predictions. Here we go. Okay, we'll start. First round, I'm going to be predicting the series in order based on when the game one is played. So like the first game one is Sixers-Knicks. The last game one is Lakers-Thunder. So we're going to go in order when the game ones are going to be played. So Sixers-Knicks begins in like less than an hour. So New York's obviously favored to win this series. Philly coming off, we talked about at the top of the show, a grueling 7-game battle against Boston, coming back from 3-1, all of it. Embiid looks healthy-ish coming off the appendectomy. Kudos to him for coming back and playing well. Maxi's been unbelievable. Paul George has played a very good complementary wing role at this stage of his career, and Edgecombe has an unbelievably bright future ahead of him. Then you got the Knicks coming in, who, and I said this before the Game 6 massacre against Atlanta. I said, the Knicks are way better than Atlanta. I don't care that it's going to a Game 6. The Hawks' 2 wins, both came by a point. The Knicks were winning their games on average by like 18 points. Like the Knicks are the better team. And boy, they show it in Game 6. Holy cow. And so for New York, coming back home at MSG, there is an element of, man, again, we're coming off this, we won Game 4 to tie the series, won Game 5 to go up 3-2, and then we did what we did in Game 6. Philadelphia, I have to imagine, even watching the fourth quarter of Game 7 in Boston, they've got to be exhausted. They have to be exhausted. Maybe Edgecombe isn't, and Maxey might not be. Paul George got to be exhausted, and Embiid's definitely exhausted. We saw it on the court. And because they don't have a very deep bench, that feels like something the Knicks can kind of expose over the course of a 7-game series. Like, that's why, for all the matchup disadvantages that New York has against Embiid and against Maxey, there's the element of, I can't. God bless him. I cannot trust Embiid to stay healthy for the full series. It sucks, but that's what it's been. And also, that lack of depth, it may not hurt you against Boston. It'll hurt you against the Knicks. With Mike Brown, who, unlike Tibbs, who's a good coach, but Mike Brown actually knows how to manage an NBA rotation in the playoffs. So it's been a trademark in the show. Bring it back again, baby. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Give me the Knicks in 6. Knicks in 6, ladies and gentlemen. They beat the Philadelphia 76ers, and they advance to their second straight Eastern Conference Finals appearance. Listen, I've been high on the Knicks all year, even at the low points of this season. I said that team's winning the East. I feel as good about that as ever. For the record, I think whoever wins this series is going to the finals. Straight up. I think the winner of this series will be either Detroit or Cleveland, who we'll get to in just a moment. Let's go now to a Western Conference series that, 48 hours ago, maybe 24 hours ago, we were thinking, oh man, if only one of these teams had been healthy, this would be a great series. But this will be a quick series. To now it's, they're not all the way healthy, but they might have their best guy back. I'm talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves and the San Antonio Spurs. So San Antonio's favored to win the series. Anthony Edwards is almost certainly going to play game 1 tonight, which is, I know younger athletes heal quicker, and Ant Edwards is a great athlete. He bent his knee backwards 9 days ago. Like a couple of Saturdays ago, he goes down. We're like, oh my God, he's done for the playoffs. He's going to be back for game 1 of the second round. And so now if you're the Timberwolves, as beat up as you are, DiVincenzo's obviously gone for a long time, unfortunately, with the Achilles. But if Ayo Dosunmu, who, scored 43 in game 4 against the Nuggets, if he's back, giving me that scoring punch off the bench. And if Ant is, and Ant wasn't healthy before he injured his knee in game 4, but if Ant can be, what's realistic? 75% of himself, 70% of himself, something like that, just effective, Okay, well, Minnesota's said religiously on the show they've been to back-to-back conference finals. And by the way, y'all know I love Wemby. If Rudy Gobert can take Jokic one-on-one, well, who's to say he can't take Wemby one-on-one? You know, the French battle between the French big men. It's gonna be fun. Here's the problem, though. What has always been, and Gobert has proved me wrong over the last few years in the playoffs, and credit to him. There is still a glaring flaw in his game defensively. He cannot guard the perimeter. That's mostly where Wemby plays. So, that's a matchup that does not favor Minnesota at all. They have the size. They can throw at Wemby. Wemby can be able to expose that with shooting ability, scoring off the dribble. I think this is going to be a series. You're not going to see Wemby in the post a ton. And I think, again, just based on coaching, experience, defense, I think Minnesota makes this a really interesting series. If you told me Minnesota's up 2-1 going to game 4 at home, would not be shocked. That said, I picked the Spurs to win the championship in February. I'm sticking with it. Spurs, to me, are the best team in basketball. I'll take them in 6 over the Timberwolves. If Ant were healthy, I'd probably have this thing going 7, and I don't know. Who knows what happens in a game 7? San Antonio's never been in this position with this group of guys. But I like San Antonio in this series. I think Wemby can be able to expose matchups against Gobert that Jokic was not able to. And again, the home court advantage in San Antonio, them surviving that test against Portland without Wemby for game 3. And then they had him for game 4, double-digit deficit in halftime of both games and winning both games. That showed me a lot about the Spurs. I think they're going to win the championship, so obviously I had them in 6 over the Timberwolves. Before we get to the next series, not so fun fact, Timberwolves fans, and I apologize in advance, in this mini run you've had of going to conference finals, I've never picked you guys the first time in a series. I picked Phoenix over you guys. I picked Denver over you guys. I picked Dallas. I was right about Dallas. Picked Dallas over you guys. Picked the Lakers. Wrong. Warriors. I'd have been right if Steph was healthy, but that's okay. And I picked OKC. I was right on that one. And then I picked Denver against you guys, and I was wrong on that one. So, listen, Ant Edwards, Chris Finch, Gobert, and the Timberwolves have kind of made a living of making me look like an idiot. So, why stop now? Who knows? But I do like San Antonio to win this series. Back out east, game 1 tomorrow. Cleveland Cavaliers, Detroit Pistons. So, Detroit is slightly favored to win the series. Both teams coming off of 7-game series that we really don't think should have went that far. Cleveland looked like they had game 6 in the bag in overtime, and then RJ Barrett hits the Tyrese Halliburton meets Kawhi Leonard bouncing shot to force game 7, and the Cavs got the job done. Jared Allen was great. Mobley played well. But as I said about Detroit earlier, for their offensive flaws, for the areas where they come up short, not having a true, consistent number 2 scorer opposite Cade, Orlando was the type of team that could really expose that because of how good of a defensive team they are. The Cavs' best defensive players are on the interior or in the paint, in particular Jared Allen, and obviously Evan Mobley is a defensive player of the year. So Jalen Duren probably gets neutralized in the series again, just like he did against the Magic and Wendell Carter. On the perimeter, they're just going to attack Donovan Mitchell and James Harden at will. And if I've watched enough James Harden basketball, I do know this. Once you get to the second round, once you get to that game 6, that's where, at home in particular, it's always at home. Houston, Philly, he didn't play well in game 7 last night. It gets ugly. So I do like the Detroit Pistons to win this series. I'm going to go 6 for them. I think Cade plays maybe not quite as well as he did in the last 3 games against Orlando, but he continues the streak of playing great basketball. So give me the Detroit Pistons to win in 6 over the Cleveland Cavaliers, and Harden has that just horrifying game 6 at home in Cleveland. And Cavs fans are thinking, yeah, listen, Darius Garland isn't perfect, but I don't think he would go 2 for 12 with 7 turnovers. Last series, and we already basically predicted this at the beginning of the show, but just to lock it in and make it official. It's the Los Angeles Lakers, and it's the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oklahoma City is a massive favorite to win this series. And I would be gentler in my delivery if there weren't so many darn Laker fans on social media. I know OKC's better at literally everything. If we can get game 1, if we can get this to, we're down 2-1 by game 4, Luka comes back, and Luka's been good against the Thunder in the playoffs this career. And guys, whether Luka comes back for game 4 or not, that will be the final game of your season. And that's okay, by the way. OKC was supposed to sweep the Suns. They did. I think OKC's going to lose to San Antonio in the conference finals. We'll see. If you had Luka, hey, maybe it goes 5. Maybe instead of a sweep, it's a gentleman's sweep. But we saw the Lakers against OKC this year get destroyed in virtually every game. And in the last game that Luka got hurt, you were down 30 at halftime. Like, and by the way, they're resting, and God bless them. Y'all know I love LeBron James. But he is 41. And you saw, as that series kind of wore on against Houston, it's like, okay, he's not as efficient, not as good for longer stretches on defense. This could be I think there's a chance this could be a bloodbath of a series. I'm not even kidding. I said before, whoever wins between the Lakers and Houston is getting mauled by OKC. And I'm sticking to that. This is as quick as a series can be. Thunder and 4, ladies and gentlemen. As Shannon Sharp said, Lakers and 5. Thunder and foe. Thunder and foe against the Los Angeles Lakers. Man, I was going to be nice to you Laker fans. I really was. Because I love LeBron. But some of y'all out there that's like, we can maybe pull. No, you can't pull up nothing against Oklahoma City. You'd be dead in the water with your best player. Without your best player? Come on, man. Like I said earlier, and I just wrote this down. Oklahoma City is a better offensive team. They have the better defensive team. They have the better depth. They have the best player in the series. They have the best coach in the series. They have the healthier team. They have home court advantage. And they've been rested for a week, and the Lakers got the weekend off and then had to fly to Oklahoma City. So they're way more rested. So this is going to be a fast series. Let's put it that way. So Thunder and 4. Thunder and foe. Let's put it. You remember how Moses Malone said foe in 1983 with the Sixers? They ended up going foe 5-4 or foe 5-4. So let's do it that way. So Knicks and 6, Spurs and 6, Pistons and 6, Thunder and foe. It doesn't hit the same as Shannon Sharp. Let's be honest. It doesn't hit the same. Gonna take a 1-minute break. When we come back, we're doing a very special segment regarding. It's May the 4th. And we've come up with different ideas over the years and different segments for May the 4th. This one, we're taking a big swing. Will it land? We shall see. Stay tuned until after the break. You'll see what I'm talking about. Welcome back to Car Vamp Live. Appreciate everybody for stopping by on this Monday show. Again, been very fun to do some Star Wars theming here and there, tell some stories of my time in Galaxy's Edge. Listen, one of these days, maybe this summer, when there's not a lot of, the basketball season's over, baseball's like the dog days of July and August, and football isn't ramped up yet. I know we'll have the World Cup, to be fair, but as far as the annual American team sports that we all love and are used to, it's kind of that dead period. I might just do a full podcast, like, I don't know, 30 minutes, an hour, who knows, of just telling stories from my time working at Disney in the college program, working at the Falcon. I did see and briefly, in some cases, meet some notable people. So it'd be a little self-indulgent, I guess, but you know what? The podcasts are for storytelling in some ways. So maybe do something like that in the future. So, but right now it's NBA playoffs. We went off time to get into that. We do have time to get into, because you guys know I'm a huge Star Wars fan. And today's May the 4th. May the 4th be with you, Star Wars Day. Tomorrow's Revenge of the 5th. So again, we can just extend this to tomorrow. But I was kind of racking my brain over the weekend. Like, how can I really how can I do something a little bit different? Because I thought about I did this a year ago, Bryson's best 10, but instead it was actually Bryson's best 11, my top 11 Star Wars movies of all time. The only reason I didn't do that this year is because we literally have a new Star Wars movie for the first time in 7 years coming out in a few weeks, The Mandalorian Grogu, which I cannot wait to see. So I don't want to make a list until I see that, and then okay, then we'll have the top 12 and rank them from there. I don't count the Clone Wars movie as a Star Wars movie. I count that as part of the Clone Wars series. And so I was thinking, generally, you kind of divide the main characters in Star Wars. You got the Jedi, the good side, so to speak, and then the Sith, who are the dark side. And then, of course, you kind of have the middlemen, the bounty hunters. You also have droids. Let's put it this way. The segment we're going to be doing is listing different athletes and where I would put them. Jedi, Sith, or bounty hunters. I have I almost did droids, but I'm like, it's weird to compare a real person to a robot. Like maybe, I guess Kawhi Leonard would be like, I don't know, would Kawhi be like who wouldn't be R2? I don't know. It's odd. I mean, they call Kawhi the cyborg. That's really it. So we're going to do Jedi, Sith, and bounty hunters. So for Jedi, basically the qualities, maintaining the Force, using it for the benefit of others, at least again, the way you're supposed to use the Force as a Jedi Knight. And the comps I found for that were, the first one, I mean, did you have any doubts watching the show? Is Steph Curry. He has mastered the ability greater than any human in the history of the world of shooting the basketball. I think Steph, if he lived in the time of the Jedi, in the world of Star Wars, he would be the Jedi that just masters the Force, like almost like a little Qui-Gon Jinn-esque in a certain way, where it's mastered the emotions, has an immense knowledge of the midi-chlorian count, which I know that's still a controversial thing in Star Wars circles. I don't really get it. How do you think they got the Force, guys? How do you think some are more powerful than others? I digress. So I think Steph would be kind of the obsessive. He's got great hand-eye coordination, which obviously helps, wielding the lightsaber, using the Force. So Steph would absolutely be a Jedi. First Sith is Steph's teammate, actually, Draymond Green. And I love Draymond. But what is it that the Sith rely upon? Yoda literally says it. They rely upon their anger. And they rely upon strong emotions. That, particularly in his prime, is what made Draymond great. It's why I defended him for so many years. Like, Draymond, calm down. I'm like, he's not as good of a player as if he calms down. He's got to play with a little bit of that edge. Well, that's basically the definition of a Sith Lord. And so that I would put Draymond in that category. Bounty hunter. Here's our first football player. I think this will be unanimity in terms of the agreement on this. Aaron Rodgers. Bounty hunters are basically independent contractors. They don't really have a rooting interest, so to speak. They're just doing what's good for their business. And you could argue Aaron leaving Green Bay wasn't really good for his business, but that's how it ended up. Where it's Aaron's ridiculously talented, even to this day, even at 41, 42, watch him throw a football. It's like, God, he's so good. It's a blast to watch. But the production's declined, and it's like, okay, you go to Green Bay and the Jets. You wanted to go to the Jets and do what? Win 5 games and get a top 10 pick and then leave, and the only team that wants you is Pittsburgh? Independent contractor, mind of his own, definitely beats to his own drum, definitely not as dogmatic as the Jedi, not as emotionally driven as the Sith. So by definition, Aaron Rodgers goes in the bounty hunter category. I think there's no question about that. Our next Jedi is Victor Wembanyama. So Victor Wembanyama, you could almost put him, I couldn't quite put him, comp-wise to Anakin. But Wemby, it's a little similar to Anakin. It's like, oh, it's like this is the chosen one. Like this kid's abilities are beyond what we've ever seen in the history of the Jedi. And that's kind of how Victor Wembanyama is, where it's, you're 7'4", 7'5", so of course you're a great shot blocker. Wait a minute, you can break guys down off the dribble, shoot threes at an efficient clip, and cross guys up, hit the mid-range. Like, you're basically a better version of Kevin Durant, and then on the other end of the floor, you're Rudy Gobert mixed with Kevin Durant. Like, that shouldn't happen. Doesn't make sense. I mean, you had people when Wemby came into the NBA, like, he's too skinny, which there's a lot of guys that have been skinny. You put on muscle. That's how it works. Oh, he's too skinny. Oh, he won't last physically. Oh, guys will beat him up. Like, almost like it's a too good to be true type of thing. Like, a guy can't be 7'5", do what he does offensively and defensively. It just can't happen. It's like, no, actually he can. He absolutely can. And so it does remind you a little bit of the jealousy of Anakin, of the animosity towards Anakin. It's like, wait, this kid's 9, has never been trained in his life, and his midi-chlorian count, he's stronger in the Force than Yoda. Like, what? Huh? That defies previous description or previous expectation of what we've seen with Jedi. Well, that's how it is, and that's where you put Victor Wembanyama. So in some ways, will he make a turn to the dark side like Anakin did? Only time will tell. Next Sith Lord is, this is gonna just drive the divide between me and this fan base. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So Shai is almost, do I compare him to Count Dooku? So Count Dooku's the rare Sith Lord that does not rely upon strong emotions for his powers. Not like Darth Maul or Vader. But Count Dooku is measured, is composed, the whole bit. And like Shai, or like Dooku, Shai saw a flaw in the system and said, I'm going to expose it. I'm going to exploit it. And then it gets to a point where you overutilize it so much, it actually works to the detriment of others. It works to the detriment. In the case of the NBA, it works to the detriment of our viewing experience, drawing ridiculous fouls. And then for Dooku, it's, the Jedi are corrupt. Well, that doesn't mean the Sith are good. Like that's, and you can argue he was trying to bring down Palpatine. That doesn't mean you got to go all the way to the dark side, so to speak. That's where I kind of compare Shai to. That's why Shai's a Sith Lord. He manipulates the Force for his own benefit. Next bounty hunter, Kevin Durant. So we talked about KD earlier, and listen, it's very similar to Aaron Rodgers in that aesthetically, my gosh, he's gifted. He's the most gifted scorer of the basketball I've personally ever seen in my life. The crossover, shooting over guys, get to the line and be efficient from there, gets the basket, shoot the three, but it's just unbelievable. But also, again, kind of his own guy. Independent contractor, OKC, didn't like playing OKC, wanted to play with a more team-friendly style, so he goes to Golden State. And then he gets tired of team-friendly style in Golden State, so he goes to Brooklyn, who's not a team-friendly style at all, which is what he wanted. But then he's like, actually, I don't want this. Let's go to Phoenix, a team that's been to the finals and has good chemistry. Oh, actually, no, I want to go to Houston, a team that's trying to build chemistry, but I don't want to lead. I just want to play basketball, but they don't need that. And talented, does what's in his best interest, not necessarily for the good of all sides involved. That's where I put Kevin Durant. I put him in the bounty hunter category. Last Jedi, Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is fascinating in the sense that almost a little Obi-Wan Kenobi-esque. When we talk about the most powerful Jedi Knights, we think about Anakin. We think about Yoda. We think about Mace Windu. You never really hear Obi-Wan's name bring up. It's like, wait a second. Obi-Wan Kenobi beat Darth Maul multiple times over in a duel, and he beat Anakin in his prime on Mustafar. Got to be pretty strong with the Force in order to make that happen. That's like, there's something to that. And with Mahomes, it's, you see the God-given talent, but in recent years, Patrick has not been an overly flashy player. It's like, you move well, you got the arm strength, and yet you really don't utilize it until you have to. Very similar to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Knows the power he has, is confident the power he has, doesn't overutilize it. So I put Patrick Mahomes in the Jedi category. The Sith Lord category. Tom Brady. Now, we're talking about a retired athlete now, but Tom, a little similar to Draymond in the sense that Tom feeds off doubts, off anger. Tom holds, and by the way, this was to his benefit, obviously. Tom held grudges. Tom, literally, his production company, 199 Productions. Why is it called that? Because he was the 199th pick in the 2000 NFL draft. That's why. Like, he always held that, I'm that 6th-round draft pick who nobody believed in. I'm going to, I'm going to shove it down every single team's throat every Sunday during the fall. And it's when Tom was doubted that he was at his best. He fed off that anger. He fed off of that motivation. That's how a lot of athletes are, none like Tom. And so in that way, he is kind of similar to a Sith Lord. And the final bounty hunter, this will be kind of fun. Ant Edwards, again, beats his own drum, man. Not an independent contractor like Rodgers and KD in the sense that he's still young, but he's been with the Timberwolves all 6 years. Like, he feels like probably going to be with Minnesota for the vast majority of his career. And I think that'd be great to see. But conducts his business on and off the court kind of differently than other stars, is bringing a certain swagger that, frankly, among NBA superstars, we don't really see right now. We see it with the American players that are older, Steph, Bron. We don't see it with the younger American guys, Cade, Jalen Brunson, Jalen Brown. Ant brings that to the table. He's his own man. Isn't that the definition of Boba Fett, of Jango Fett, of Din Djarin? Like, that's how they go about their business. So in that regard, kind of similar to Ant Edwards. The last one I'll give, and I've said this before, I said Wemby, there's some Anakin Skywalker parallels, but we haven't seen Wemby's full story yet, so we can't totally buy into that just yet. For someone, most of his story has been told, most of his basketball story has been told, LeBron James literally is Anakin Skywalker. Literally. He was he was called the chosen one. Anakin was the chosen one. Braun was the chosen one. And everyone, I won't say everyone liked Anakin, but people didn't hate Anakin. There was a little animosity toward LeBron. People didn't hate LeBron. And then LeBron went to Miami, and like everybody outside of Heat fans hated LeBron's guts. And Anakin joined the dark side, and for understandable reasons, everybody hated Anakin. And so, but then Anakin redeems himself, saves Luke Skywalker's life, kills Palpatine, redeems himself. LeBron, in the eyes of some, redeemed himself by going back to Cleveland, winning a championship. And so, and both are considered the GOAT in terms of power, in terms of their overall power. So Braun is basically both. Braun's Jedi and a Sith. He's Anakin Skywalker. As far as the Jedi, I got Steph, Wemby, and Mahomes. The Sith, I got Tom Brady, Draymond Green, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The Bounty Hunters, I got Kevin Durant, Aaron Rodgers, Anthony Edwards. So there we go. There's our May the 4th segment. Hopefully you guys had some fun with that. With that, that is all the time in for today's show. Appreciate everybody stopping by. As always, be sure to catch Carving Up Live on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time, right here on YouTube, as well as on Facebook, Twitch, and on X. Hope everybody has a great week. We'll see you then. Stay safe out there. God bless y'all. Peace out. And speaking of Aaron Rodgers, don't sign in Pittsburgh. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.